Academica Media. From Academica Media Studios in Miami, Florida, it's Big Ideas in Education, a weekly recap of inspiration and innovation in your schools.
Welcome to the show, everybody. I'm Ryan Kairalla. On this episode, we're going to be delving into the topic of mentoring in the K-12 setting. And joining us in that discussion is Jermaine Myrie, the CEO of Mentor, a national nonprofit that focuses on fueling high-quality, relationship-centered practices for young people and uniting, expanding, and strengthening the mentoring movement. You can find out more about our guest's work by visiting mentoring.org. Jermaine, thank you so much for joining us this week.
It's great to be with you, Ryan. Thank you for having me.
I'm really excited for this conversation. Mentoring is something that is very near and dear to my heart, and I've seen the power of good mentoring in terms of changing kids' lives in the K-12 setting. So let's get right into it. Talk to us a little bit about what effective mentoring initiatives can look like in K-12 schools. Can you give us some examples?
Yeah, no, I think, and again, not again, because I haven't said this yet, but as a former educator, being in, a former 7th grade, 10th, 11th, 12th grade teacher, I have firsthand knowledge about the importance of mentoring in the K-12 space. And what that looks like is really being a constant and firm partner and relationship stakeholder for a young person, someone who expresses care for a young person, someone who challenges the growth and pushes a young person to see outside of their own box, if you will. Mentoring can be such a great tool in the K-12 space when you're providing support for that young person in their journey. It helps to complete and achieve goals that this young person might have, and also recognizing the importance of sharing power. Of knowing that the lived experience of the young person ought to be prioritized as much as it is for the adult to prioritize that. And I think the other piece around this and of what it should look like and ought to look like in the K-12 space is expanded possibilities. Being a relationship stakeholder for a young person that expands their possibilities towards whether it's a dream, whether it's a vision, whether it's an idea, and connecting them to people and places that broadens their horizon. And I think those are some of the constructs of what impactful, effective mentoring looks like in the K-12 space.
And who typically serves in this mentoring role in the K-12 setting? Is it just the internal stakeholders like the teachers, or are there external folks like outside community members who serve in this function?
Everyday individuals serve as mentors for a young person. A young person in a K-12 space can find a mentor in a neighbor that sees them waiting on the corner for the school bus and ensures that they're watching out for them and they have that constant figure. A mentor that we've seen in a setting could be the crossing guard, which for many folks is one of the most constant and safeguarding adults that they have, right? Even the imagery of a cross guard ensuring your safety and connection to school. We've seen that be a relationship that evolves over time. We also know that there are other stakeholders outside of the school building that volunteer to come into the school building to partner up for science fairs or to come in as part of a corporate school relationship. So there are a number of adults, of caring individuals that engage with young people that not just by age, but by proximity and by caring actions and selfless listening become really involved individuals and, if you will, mentors for young people by the way that they show up. And showing up is the important part.
And a lot of times this mentoring happens organically, right? You talked about the school crossing guard, right? If a student is walking past the school crossing guard, that creates an opportunity for mentoring to happen. But oftentimes mentoring can be more purposeful by the school. The school can create tangible initiatives to facilitate and encourage mentoring between the mentors and the students. Can you talk a little bit about what some of those processes look like? How are schools actually helping facilitate mentoring opportunities?
Yeah, no, they do, and you're right. We do see from the organic to the scheduled mentoring experience, right? The one, as I shared earlier, the neighbor, the crossing guard, the guy at the corner store, or the person at the corner store, right? Just being a constant. But schools do create spaces and relationships with external entities and partners. There are some wonderful organizations across the country that interact with K-12 districts around the country to create, as you suggested, a very programmed and scripted space where a young person is partnered with an individual, an adult that is mapped or matched with them, and that person have time on task, have scheduled engagements with the young person to explore their passions, their dreams, their curiosities, to help support and listen to those moments of challenges, which we all face, and obviously young people face as well. And so what we see is, and I talked a little bit earlier around their corporate entities that, as part of their community practice, will say, hey, I'd like to show up as a corporate citizen in my community, partner with a district to get their employees into a school. We have other nonprofits that have a cadre of adults that have signed up. And one of the things that we facilitate, we have a platform called the Mentoring Connector. And that is a platform where adults can go in and type in a zip code, identify a location that they'd like to volunteer and explore mentoring opportunities, and they can be matched. And we have many schools and districts that are in that program and platform whereby adults can connect in a very prescribed way. So there are variations of mentoring in schools, and ways in which both their private public relationships that gets that done, and whether it's an hour a week, twice a month, that cadence can vary depending on the program relationship.
And when school leaders approach you, as I imagine they often do, and say, I want to create some kind of tangible mentoring program, mentoring initiative on my campus, how do I get started? How do I start building those relationships? What do you tell them?
Well, we publish what's called the Elements of Effective Practice, which is, for the last 30 or so years, this has been a guiding resource, really the best in class resource in the mentoring field that allows practitioners, that allows entities like districts to really look at how to establish and what are the key tenets of effective mentoring relationships, right? And so we kind of start with an idea around a survey of what are they trying to achieve? What's the number of young people? What type of relationships are they trying to achieve? And really engage them through this elements of effective practice modeling to showcase the distinct elements of getting into quality programming. So what we try to tell them is establishing programs that have high quality, high engagement, such that they can recruit the right participants, have the right pairing models, if you will, because what they're ultimately looking to do is run a successful mentoring experience. And in order to do that, it has to be of high quality, a pair share type experience between the young person and the adults that are coming into the building.
Since you talked a little bit about some of the materials that you put together, I'm now encouraged to want to ask you more about what your organization does. Can you, for the uninitiated, can you tell the viewers and listeners a little bit more about what Mentor does?
Yeah. Well, mentors, I was mentioned earlier, for the better part of 35 years, we are a intermediary organization that supports entities across the country that are seeking to strengthen and develop effective mentoring relationships in a myriad of ways. And so we, by an intermediary, means that we connect organizations and communities with mentoring experiences, with resources, tools, and frameworks from which to explore those things. So we provide, in effect, a level of professional services for organizations, school districts, and others to be able to build and strengthen mentoring practices in their communities.
I love this. And I believe you spoke about 35 years. I believe you're currently in the middle of a 35th anniversary campaign right now. Can you tell us about this?
Yeah, we're excited. We are in the middle of, in October, we'll be celebrating in New York City our 35th year. We are we are national in scope, um, in the sense of we are in 25 states across the country, and so we're excited to bring folks together to see the journey that the organization has been on for these many years, and so that will bring together some of the best and brightest of work and individuals that we have touched over this period of time. And so it'll be a real great celebration to see both the highlights and impact that the organization has had over these many decades.
Congratulations on your organization's success, and thank you for all of the very important work that your organization does in enriching the K-12 setting. Really, really important stuff. Thank you, Jermaine. You can find out more about our guest's work by visiting mentoring.org. Jermaine, before we let you go, we got one last question for you. If with the snap of your fingers you could make any change to the education system, what change would it be?
That's a great question, Ryan. I would say to prioritize joy. I think prioritizing joy and communication across the different stakeholders in the system, while sounding quasi Pollyannish, potentially naive on some level, I think that's the core area of real change and impact. When folks are in spaces where they are engaged and joyful, you tend to minimize anxiety, you minimize barriers, you start to see people in real ways, no different than if you think of when you go to a company retreat and someone does an icebreaker. I think the moment when everyone has real conversation is during the icebreaker, when you're kind of trying to build something or help each other or having that type of moment where you have trust building, if you will. I think joy allows that. And then communication and strengthening communication between groups of stakeholders in the education space is critical. Not just the transparency of communication, but just to share action of reaching out and sharing ideas. I think can benefit us all.
Very, very critical insight. Especially this time of year, right, where we are getting into testing season and AP exams and just trying to get everything done before the summer. We need to be reminded more than ever to not lose sight of the joy and to centralize the joy in the education process. And that will make everything a whole lot easier and a lot more effective. Jermaine, thank you very much for your insight this week. Thank you for all you do with Mentor. Congratulations on 35 years. And we really appreciate you coming on the program this week.
It was great being with you, Ryan. This was good fun.
Thank you all for checking out Big Ideas in Education.
The views expressed on the preceding program have been those of the hosts and guests and do not necessarily reflect the views of Academica, its clients, staff, affiliates, or advertisers.